Hello, everybody. Thank you for the patience. We are back. We've got more Overwatch 2 to cover. This time, we're not handing out a championship, but we are going to duke it out for third and fourth. Jobin and Ray joining everybody yet again. We've got one more match to cap off the evening. Obviously, a masterclass by Northwood earlier, taking down Fisher. But now we get to go duke it out for third and fourth, and we get to go have some fun between two schools that might be a little more unknown to some people.
Yeah, Division 4 NECC Overwatch. This is the Central Division, as we will have Saginaw Valley State University going up against Washington Community College Wolfpack Esports Green. As these two teams have faced each other about a month ago, and Saginaw Valley State University was able to win that matchup 3-0. So the big question for the Wolfpack is, since then, what changes have they made? Obviously, we've had some buffs, some nerfs, stuff gone around in the meta. So let's see how it goes this time around.
Yeah, as you said, that match was early November, and we got that kind of slew of changes like mid to late-ish November, and then it's been a bit quiet since then. Obviously, especially holiday break, a lot of devs are going to be gone, and they made enough changes to suffice everybody for the year. But even just looking at the bracket as well, looking at the Saginaw team, they were a team that they actually ended up losing to the winners of the tournament. They lost 3-1 in them in a semifinal matchup. And looking at some of the game scores, well, they played them very, very close. So even though this is a team that, they're playing for third and fourth now, they were that close to at least having a chance at knocking off the eventual winner. So that's got to inspire a lot of confidence from that game being just a couple weeks ago.
Could not agree with you more, as we do have that first map that was selected for this series. And once again, we will be starting on Ilios. So expect, even though this is Division 4, where, anything goes, I still think Ilios carries itself an ethos of, generally speaking, you run dive on this map.
Yeah, and it's one of those maps too where it's been around so long, and even though it might be a different division, and we're not necessarily going to see the OWCS meta or anything like that, it's Ilios. There's always going to be a certain amount of power picks on the map, or just picks that people like to play. Things like the Lucio. Obviously, talked about the Zarya earlier in the day, even though it ended up being banned. So definitely have some options on this map. Definitely some Diva. Maybe even we saw the Sombra earlier from Chronix. So there's definitely some options, and obviously with teams that are there's not necessarily any pressure on this game. Not that you ever want to lose, necessarily a bronze medal match, but you're not playing for the championship. Your season's not necessarily riding on one team fight, one win. So I think these teams can come in today and just play a lot more loose and free if they feel like it.
I agree. Obviously, a podium finish is always going to be great, but it's, again, it's just not one of those where it's like we can win it all or get silver, which that has a lot more pressure behind it. As we do see those bans coming in, Wolfpack looking to ban that Lucio, while SVSU is banning that Freya. So no boops off this map today for either team, and no Freyas that'll be raining in the skies. It'll be some other hit scan, most likely, if we see that.
Yep, selfishly sad we're not going to see the Lucio. Obviously, always love to get that in there, especially on a map like Ilios. Feels like it is the home playground, but should be a fun game nonetheless. And of course, before we get underway with the game, got to make sure everybody at home checking that eyesight, making sure you guys are going to be covered regardless of the situation. And we present to you with buybluelight.com, the official eye care partner of the NECC. You can check out byebluelight.com. Stay locked in, stay focused, as Wolfpack and SVSU Esports are going to lock in for third place.
As we see both teams playing a variation of said, more dive-oriented compositions, I suppose. As we see one team going in Wolfpack going with the Diva, while SVSU going with more traditional Winston. We have seen that, especially recently, the Diva has been winning out a little bit better against the Winston. But Jake, I'm just gonna call him Jake. Jake is on the Reaper, so that's for VD. You got to be a lot more careful with your dives on Winston.
Yeah, certainly something to be worried about. SVSU, we see the Echo trying to get active nice and early. Always fun to see the Echo on Ilios as well. Obviously fantastic to play off the high ground and around the buildings. And it is going to be the flashbang grenade taking down Appa in the early going. So the DPS, they're certainly getting active for both squads early on. We see Jake the Dog finding that kill in tow immediately, taking the Cassidy down. A big cleanse onto Smelva to try to keep them alive. And a lot of fist fighting, a lot of back and forth. And it looks like we may finally see a capture here.
Yes, we also see Reggie on this Echo, who gets the kill onto Pangy, who's playing that on that Kiriko. The Echo has so much burst damage available, but if you get caught out like that, the Echo can really fall flat-footed as Wolfpack eventually going to get the cap on the point.
Yeah, nice early capture always feels good, especially early on in the series. Get some momentum on your side. At least get your feet wet a bit, start to hit some nice shots, and obviously the Reaper have to make sure they are very well aware of where the threat is at all times. The last thing you need to see is that Death Blossom ticking online, the Reaper sneaking into one of these little hallways or out one of these doorways and absolutely raining on your parade, just like Capybara getting taken down there.
Love me some capybaras, very underrated animal, very adorable. As now we see Jobin, who used the high noon, got taken down by Smelvin on that deep, but Reggie's been able to fight back on and gets Panky.
Yeah, and what a good replicate. Instantly flip to the Reaper, instantly find a kill, and still a little bit of HP to play around with. Eventually, we'll have to leave it, and it looks like the point actually not going to flip back over, despite the fact that VD able to take down Smelvin, and now it's a Winston versus a Reaper. The Wraith form has been officially expended, which means Jake has no more options. And SVSU, great job to hop on the point there, nice and early. Did use a few ultimates to do it, but you do get the capture.
I was going to say, it costs you your duplicate and your pulse bomb, so you're going to have to get a lot out of a nanoed Winston, possibly a tidal wave blast, because the Wolfpack's going to be coming back, and they can throw in both their DPS ultimates. They have a remech, and they're likely going to have their support ultimates as well.
Great early shot out of Appa, taking Reggie down for the foreseeable future. We do see Vidi actually will invest the Primal Rage on the backside of the fight, so SVSU maybe just trying to double and triple check that they can at least get a little bit more progress. That's a big sleep onto the Diva, and that's going to force the bomb out as well, so we are going to have to see a little bit of a reset from Smelvin here, and that means Wolfpack, they're just going to go try to flood the point. Now that's a nanoed Winston, the Deadeye for both. Cassidy's gets shut down this game. No value from the DPS ultis. The Orbital Ray of Capybara trying to keep everybody else alive, but SVSU, they are still hanging around there, despite the fact the point flips and Jake kills half the team.
Make that 60% of the team. Jake the dog still trying to make something happen on this point. All there's out is an Echo and a Reaper, but they did cap in the meantime, so they just been stealing percentage away as Jake able to heal himself up quite a bit, but the Echo and the Winston eventually going to finish him off. This back to the spawn room. SVU is able to take back control as we do see some changes coming in from Wolfpack. Smelvin now over to that Mauga, which, so that's going to be the thing with VD, as long as you keep your distance from the Mauga. I mean, Mauga can poke, but it's not as potent as, you know, getting those big ground pound dive slams in. So that's what I'd be looking to try and do if I'm the side of SVSU.
Yeah, Wolfpack might just figure, listen, we're going to send Reaper and Mauga to the front line. We're going to start firing with that left click, and we're going to hope that things go well. We are going to see Reggie actually going to replicate into said Mauga, so this could potentially be a little bit annoying to try to deal with for the side of Wolfpack, or yeah, for the side of Wolfpack, actually. And then they are going to see the cage get thrown down, and Reggie's just shredding everybody with the rest of SVSU, and they are able to hold that point lockstep. Wolfpack coming back with the Kitsune Rush, more than likely a Pulse Bomb sooner than later, but that is it.
And that was SVSU also playing their positions quite well on that high ground. And then that duplicate just coming out at the right time as Pengy's looking for an angle to be able to throw down this Kitsune Rush. Wolfpack narrowly creeping up on a Pulse Bomb, as well as SVSU. They're trying to play for Primal, trying to play for Nano.
Nano, or Primal rather, is going to be online. Pengy, they're going to send the Kitsune Rush 99 to 80. It is essentially now or never for the side of Wolfpack. Clen's going to go through, and then the Judo just gets absolutely deleted by the Winston. The Primal proving super fruitful on this last little effort. Wolfpack, they were able to grab the point back over, and Jake should be able to find the kill onto the Wu Yang. So potentially Wolfpack not going away quite yet, but the combo of Reggie and Vidi looks like it may just be enough there to flip the point, and I'm guessing that's going to be round one of the books.
Yeah, it does not look like anyone else has the touch. Nice opening map from both teams, but SVSU able to take point number one, 100 to 97. And SVSU really, in that matchup, stuck to their guns, kept that Winston, kept that Echo, felt that if they play it to its potential, that it was going to you know, be very fruitful for them. And that's kind of how the Echo is being played. Like, to me, Echo's very feast or famine. If all your team is syncing up with that damage, with those sticky grenades, with those focusing beams, it's potent. But if you're not able to sync up that well, your Echo's not going to be doing a whole lot. And they ended up finding their value in the end, as we see Smelvin and Wolfpack in general, completely swapping up the comp now. They're gonna with the much more wide open map. They're gonna go with the hazard comp, while SVSU is gonna go more ground pound with Zarya Sim Reaper. Oh, that's a lot of damage.
That is a whole lot of damage indeed, and obviously the Hazard did receive a round of nerfs, I think about a month ago at this point, so it has fallen slightly out of favor for a lot of players. Definitely can still be picked in certain situations, but that can also be a pick similar to the Echo, where it can feel like you're carrying the game, or now with the nerfs, sometimes it feels like you're just getting one shot.
You're going to see, again, a lot of cooldowns being forced from the side of SVSU, but with Panky down, it feels like it's only a matter of time once SVU pushes the issue, and they do, they're going to clean house.
Yeah, Smelvin not able to stay alive there. Capybara's catching a fist over from VD. The Cassidy's got absolutely nowhere to go, and VD is literally just swanging and banging on the entire Wolfpack squad. That's going to be a team kill for the side of SVSU, and they're able to flip well back into their favor, only about 20-6 as the chips fall here, so plenty of time to try to dig in and set up this defense.
Smelvin going over to the Ram now to try and have a little bit more sustain on that front line. VD's still going to have a pretty favorable matchup into the Ram. Didn't get a lot of charge in that fight, though, so they have a window of opportunity, Wolfpack, to push in without having to deal with the supercharged up Zarya.
Yeah, they are able to get Reggie very low on HP. Luckily, the Wraith form able to escape to safety as SVSU's lead builds to about 10 or 15. And now we just see Reggie trying to get going on the back line, and this is that exact time and place where if that Death Blossom is online, that can very well just cut the lights out of a team, and all that effort that Deadeye this time gonna find some value. Appa finally able to lock in a kill with the Cassidy ultimate. SVSU, that is 2 players down, but you've got Bo Giant and the rest of the crew seeing if they can at least hang around a little bit longer, and the double support ultimates are actually enough for SVSU, and Ramatra's going for a little bit of a trip, same with the Juno, and that means Wolfpack resetting and Jake the Dog stopping to smell at the flowers.
I'm a little surprised. I didn't think that fight was that super lost where they needed to give up that quickly. But, you know, I'm not in that server, obviously. Still got plenty of ults of either side of SVSU. Wolfpack kind of swapped up their comp a little bit, still building to some of these, but both these support ultimates coming online very quickly. So if I'm SVSU, I'm looking to go pretty quickly before they do come online.
Yeah, and just make sure you keep tabs on Reggie. They are saving that Death Blossom for the prime time moment to just absolutely shut it down in one fell swoop. And speaking of damage and wombo combos, the Annihilation finds one back onto Reggie, but SVSU lighten them up in the feed, 5 for 1. In what felt like a 3 or 4 second stretch, everybody absolutely turned to dust. And that is map 1 in the books. Or is it? There it is.
Yeah, it definitely is map number 1 in the books. SVSU taking that map pretty handily. First map was close, but that second map, not as much. Kind of a domination on that second sub map for SVSU. We talked about it. These teams did face each other about a month ago. SVSU got the better end 3-0. And I believe in this playoff bracket, Wolfpack was the higher seed. So they had that map choice. So I mean, they beat Wolfpack on, you know, at their own game. Basically, they took them to the most advantageous map that they wanted to go to.
Yeah, that is a great way to start the series for SVSU. And even as I said earlier, they took the winning team of this entire conference, the entire division. They brought them basically down to the wire. It was one of those, yes, it was a 3-1, but looking at some of the map scores, that very well could have been a 5-game series. And when it goes 5, it's essentially a toss-up in the last game if you make it that far. So this is a team that can clearly hang with the best. And even as you said, they took care of them a month ago, and there wasn't such a big patch where it fundamentally changed how the game is played. A few heroes got some tweaks here and there like they do, but this is the same game they were playing a month ago, basically, and so far, same result.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, you know, few heroes got a little bit better. Like Ram is a little bit better than they were a month ago and stuff like that. But overall, it's still a pretty open meta, all things considered, especially like, you know, it's not like OWCS where, you know, Sim is just dominating. This is not where we are right now. We're in Division 4 Collegiate. I feel like compositionally wise, everything is pretty much open. So let's see where the cards fly as map will stay on the side of will stay on the side of the Wolfpack Esports, so they will get to pick their next map after a ban, and then we'll see what the hero bans are as well. But given that this is a first 2-3, to me, this is almost a must-win for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, and that's a good note as well. Almost forgot to say that at the start of this series, at least, is we're not in the best of 7 that we were in Division 1. This is the first of 3, aka best of 5. So you're already 33% of the way there if you're SVSU. So as you said, when you're down 2-0 in a first of 4, you're like, okay, maybe we got the reads. The bands didn't necessarily go our way. 2-0 in a series like this, you go, damn, we might just be finishing 4th place after all of our hard work this semester. It just can be too much to figure out in such a short time period. Hopefully, they can find a map and a mode they like. Will it be Kings Row? Possibly, more than likely, but we'll see exactly. Do they want to just throw a curveball too, since it's one of those series where there's not a lot of pressure? Do they say, you know what, throw it out the window, screw the playbook, let's go, let's do something crazy that we maybe worked on once this semester?
Only time will tell, as we will be getting you guys that map choice as soon as we have it for you guys. As you saw on Ilios, that was map number 1. Earlier on, about like almost over an hour ago, we had the Division 1 grand finals. We had Northwood number 3 in the collegiate rankings going up against Fisher number 4 in the collegiate rankings, and Northwood dominated 4-0. They were playing with their food on that 4th map. They were having their fun. So now we've shifted down here to Division 4, and so far we'll see, but SVSU has definitely taken that first decisive lead in the series.
Yeah, I hope this doesn't turn into a repeat of the Fisher Northwood where the most competitive we got was the first round of control, and then it was just a slow decline down the mountain the rest of the way, it felt like. So I hope Wolfpack at least has something geared up here. They've got something cooked up. It is going to be Surabasa for the second map. So listen, more open, more space to flow around. Maybe you got some sort of team fight creativity, a certain comp that you like on this map. I certainly don't hate it. You can at least play a little more free because hybrid sometimes things don't go well. It just feels like we can't get to the cart. We can't get to the cart. At least in this one, if you lose the first point, you can kind of regroup and retool yourself around the map.
I love me some Saravasa. So like I've loved the new Flashpoint maps. I like Saravasa. I like Atlas, but Saravasa has like the most character to me. Like it just like
Hmm.
obviously it's India, but it's just the amount of like color and pop and style they put to really fit that India vibe. It has always been great. And again, ever since they reworked it and added, better flank routes for different spots on the map, opened a couple of different spots up, it's been I mean, I think it's favored a lot of teams. I think that's why we tend to see a lot of teams picking this map.
Yeah, listen, there's sometimes it's as simple as there is a reason why this is arguably the most popular map for the mode. I especially love the changes that you talked about as well. I think the map, not that it necessarily got super stale, but I think changes were definitely needed just for a facelift more than anything. Just give the players a little more room to stretch their legs. Don't make the map quite as one-dimensional because Flashpoint in and of itself, it's not supposed to be a super one-dimensional mode. That's why it's this big open space where you can literally go wherever you want to set up these flank angles. It rewards creativity. And speaking of, the bans are now through. Wolfpack will be ditching the Zarya and Tracer taken off the board for SVSU. So target out one of those nasty hit scans. Speaking of flank routes and pulse bombs, that is a pick that we see time and time again on Suravasa.
Yeah, my guess is Wolfpack's going to want to continue to play that Ramatra, and they did not like the amount of pressure and damage VD was able to apply with that Zarya. So we will see. As I'm saying that, it looks like I'm at least proven wrong for the time being. We see Wolfpack currently highlighting the Mauga composition, which has continued to grow itself in favor, especially since Mauga's got a better matchup into like Orisa, for example, can crit them better. It's got a better matchup into Hazard because Hazard can get crit while blocking now. SVSU, however, they're highlighting a Junker Queen composition, which I'm all for. It's all about just total speed. They're going to go with a Genji Sombra. So it's all about that Genji, all about that Sombra, all about that Junker Queen syncing up together on targets. And they got to move fast because the Malga composition is more sustained in the long run.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That SVSU comp is speed, momentum, and destruction if they're able to find that first pick. That is a comp that is going to snowball and deathball the second they feel like they've got the advantage in the fight. But again, like you said too, the Mauga can pump that damage, and he can catch up to the Queen if she tries to escape. That is a ton of damage coming out from the Mauga. Unfortunately, the rest of the team not faring nearly as well. So now Smelvin has got a lot of work to do to get out of this corner, and with Mega taking down Pangy, that is no healing left besides that self-sustain, although The point not able to be captured yet. Mauga will have to go for a little jog there and get back to the team though, which means SVSU can open up the cap.
I was gonna say the issue is, yeah, you got the Junker Queen, but in the meantime, the rest of SVSU was able to take out 3 of your players. This Mauga composition thrives a lot of the time on Appa and Smelvin and Capybaras being able to be together, helping each other out and finding coordinated kills.
Yeah, we see the Sombra taking out yet again. EMP's obviously one of the nastier ultimates you can have in the game. Basically a big button that says you do not get to play the game for the foreseeable future. And now we're going to see the Mauga getting lit up from the back as well. And this is the flank routes we were talking about, and just being a rat in general, whether it's the Tracer, the Sombra, there is a litany of options that work more than well enough on Surabasa. But when you're getting diffed by a Kiriko, that is a good way to lose a fight early. SVSU still a nice lead, even if Wolfpack can collapse here.
I was going to say, getting those exiting picks absolutely massive for the side of SVSU, and those are just going to continue to touch stall as long as they can while they're waiting for players to get back. But that's a lot of damage throw down onto Jake the dog, onto that Sombra. EMP!
You can see it coming a mile away. You can see the eyes light up in the Sombra. Nobody had a clue that the flank was coming, and all of a sudden it is death's door for the entire Wolfpack. The only one to live. Just kidding. Jake gets translocated and bopped on by Jobin, and that is going to be SVSU continuing the rampage that we saw at the end of Ilios.
And they have Rampage coming online for this next fight from VD, but they're going to have a lot. They were able to win that with just a singular ultimate. I mean, the good thing for Wolfpack is they didn't really use anything either, so they're going to have everything they need to combat. So, again, we talk about it. Especially in Flashpoint, you got to move aggressively, you got to move fast. Who's going to pull the trigger on these ultimates and make a move first?
Yeah, if you kind of get caught in this paralysis by analysis where your team is just kind of in no man's land, you don't really have a set course of action, you don't really know what you want to do and who you want to target, you can lose a lot of dead time and you can really get yourself stuck in a place you do not want to be. Speaking of getting stuck, the cage has been brought out, the Dragon Blade has been equipped, no reset to come through, now the Rampage, the Beat, and the Kitsune. Everything in the game being invested and everybody dying belongs to the Wolfpack.
The patience coming in from SVSU to use that blade to help themselves through the cage, and then once it was broken, to be able to use that Rampage and the Beat to keep the team alive. Expensive fight, but they're able to hold the point. And the good thing is, in the meantime of all that, Jobin was able to build up to an EMP. So Appa and Jake the dog have to find a lot with these DPS ultimates, as we do see Capybaras going over to Moira now.
Yeah, actually a good call. I was going to say, I think there are a few more swaps coming through, and Tectonic Shock from Appa. You've got to try to find some value. These ultimates, they are a dime a dozen, it feels like, for Wolfpack. They haven't been able to find that just massive setup that you would like them to see. But the Kiriko getting taken down is going to feel pretty darn good. And now Reggie is also going to get shredded in the team fight. So Wolfpack battling back hard on this point C. They do invest the Overclock and the Tectonic Shock, but they do get the fight win, and SVSU coming back with that EMP ready to go.
Yeah, that Overclock came in late. I think you would have wished you would have held on to that if you're the side of Jake the dog. So SVSU can basically come back in with EMP, and they know that you have nothing to deal with this. So it should hopefully be a pretty quick point flip.
The EMP, I didn't even expect Bo to come through that angle. I assumed there was going to be that same setup materialized God flank that we saw earlier, but instead it was just a quick snap of a finger, a pull of a trigger, and Wolfpack Esports, those health bars are blinking, and they were able to survive for a moment, but now it's a 3v2. The Moira and the Mauga seeing if they can hold on against an absolute front from SVSU, but so far, things looking to be going well enough to stall out.
Yeah, you did use your healing expanding if you're Smelvin, so you're definitely going to be vulnerable for the time being. Let's see what they make happen as we see a backline hunt for Jobin.
Yeah, these flanks have been so pivotal for SVSU so far in the Flashpoint, and now we're going to see a Reaper possibly out of position, but Reggie also going to get traded out, and Wolfpack Esports, they are dealing out some damage so far in the fight, and now the cage is going to get dropped on BD's head. The beat drop is 3% away for SVSU. They are about to get that thing online, and now it's a Rampage and a Kitsune and Wolfpack Esports just off the back of a Coalescence. I don't know if it'll be enough to win this extended fight.
It will not, especially with Smelvin going down on the Mauga point flip. going to go in favor of SVSU. Um, the issue is it did use both of their support ultimates. We do see Reggie, who swapped over to the Cassidy as well. Kitsune Rush for Pangi going up against VD and this Rampage. We're coming up, we're basically final fight for both of these teams to see who's going to get the second point.
Yeah, for SVSU, this is a mad dash to J-Rod's ultimate if the fight does end up extending that long. That Kitsune Rush as an engaged tool for Pengi, absolutely on the table, unless they get taken down before they can use it. That Kiriko was on death's door, and matter of fact, they're actually not alive, and the one ultimate that you had in the back pocket is no longer available, and now the Rampage connects on the two key members. Everybody from Wolfpack on 1 HP just bleeding out at the site. Smelvin, Pengi, and Capybara still trying to salvage something, but Bojine's got an EMP in the back pocket. The Deadeye's gonna whiff, and it looks like SVSU's going up 2-0 at the flashpoint.
Just when you thought Wolfpack found themselves in a favorable position, the big issue in that was Pengi going down first, Jobin, because they had that Kitsune Rush, and they were not able to capitalize and use it.
It was their only win condition for the fight. There was no other feasible, logical way where the fight was going to be even 10% easier. That was their key to freedom. Unfortunately, door locked, key thrown away. They do have another chance here as the point begins to open, but SVSU, they were the first ones on there, and they only need one more capture, and it is going to be game over. And now it's going to be Pengi's Kitsune. The second the point unlocks, now the back of a Deadeye from Reggie, not able to find anything, or at least hold to that final shot. And now Smelvin getting hit with a flashbang. J-Rod's off the map, and it is a mess on the site.
Yeah, I was curious, with J-Ron going down, you can't use that EMP. But you know, I felt like and the Death Blossom. I actually think that's okay if you're SVSU to get that ultimate out of them. So now all you're really dealing with now is a Coalescence. Maybe you get a cage at some point, but the EMP can just totally disrupt that. And they use the Coalescence, and Capybaras goes down. What a disaster.
Yeah, I don't know if it was to try to keep themselves alive, because they only had one other teammate in LOS, and they weren't even really trying to go for that fight. I don't think Smelvin wanted any part of that weird sort of janky fight. They were more than willing to just walk back to the point and basically soak their losses, but no Coalescence, and now you've got no tank and no DPS. So you do at least get a 75% lead, but SVSU, they are about to flood this site.
The split coming in from the side of Wolfpack, it ended up, I'd say it was good. Oh, that's tough. Okay, you're going to flip it if you're SVSU. I was going to say, they were playing very split because they ended up finding Bojiden extremely early in that fight, but because Smelvin was just isolated, you're able to get the tank, and the tank for a Sombra trade, you will take that every single day. Cage available, but Bojiden still has his EMP.
Yeah, you just feel like that EMP is the one cooldown that essentially may decide the game. It's going to connect onto 3. The Kiriko, the Reaper, the Mauga, all getting locked up for a few seconds there. And that means nobody's able to help the Moira. And now it is just the pain train out of the front door at Wolfpack, running for their lives. But they've got no chance of escape with SVSU in hot pursuit. And the EMP and the beat alone means that the Deadeye and the Rampage, and more than likely the Kitsune, are ready and equipped for one last go.
This is so tough because this is the final opportunity for Wolfpack to try and make this map feasible, but they have no ultimates, not much of a win because they have to hope to find like a pick early because, as you mentioned, they're facing a High Noon, a Rampage, and possibly a Kitsune Rush.
Yeah, no Cage, no Death Blossom, so you just lost so much Wombo combo potential even out of those two players alone. And now it's going to be the Deadeye from Reggie, and Wolfpack, they simply just have to respect it. Otherwise, you're going to get taken down, and that just might be the map. And now the Rampage is going to get invested, and Smelvin's going to get anti-healed, and everybody from Wolfpack.
When it was clutch time, SVSU had better ult rotation and control of their ult economy, and they just had the big plays coming in. It felt like anytime Wolfpack, had a cage, there was an EMP. They just had an answer for everything Wolfpack was trying to throw at them.
Yeah, and then honestly, you could pick the 2 to 3 moments, I think, that really just changed the map. I mean, the 5-player EMP to get things going, absolutely disgusting. It just wipes the entire team and gives you the first capture for free, basically. The Kiriko dying at 99% when it was like 90 to 90 on the site just feels so bad. You had the win condition, couldn't hang on for that extra percent. And then obviously at the end, the Coalescence, Certainly a little bit iffy the fight before we ended up going to the last point, never got it back online, and it's these 2 to 3 small little things that Flashpoint was competitive for a lot of it, but it was still a 3-0.
Yeah, so we have ourselves a 2-0 lead for SVSU. One more point, and they will be your bronze winners for the Central Division of Division 4. We are going to take a quick break and give these teams some time to figure out their adjustments. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And welcome back, everybody, for potentially our last map, not just of Overwatch 2, of the entire NECC semester. SVSU Esports, they are up 2-0 over Wolfpack Esports right now, looking ever so dominant in the process. But now we get to see what map, what bands Wolfpack has cooked up to see if they can extend this and still pursue that sweet bronze medal, finish off on the podium, finish the semester strong.
One thing to keep in mind is we do see Rialto is going to be our third map. Is we do have some role swapping coming around for SVSU. Reggie is going to go to tank, while VD will go to support, and Mega is going to DPS. Not sure if that is a circuit specific thing. It wouldn't be surprising. I mean, circuit thing. Oh, Rialto. I'm sorry. This is a Rialto specific thing. Given it's a much more hit scan oriented map, so maybe their players are more on the hit scan side, as Wolfpack will be banning that Wu Yang that's been finding pretty good amounts of value for the side of SVSU, as Diva will be the ban onto Wolfpack.
And I think at this point, even looking at the role swaps potentially, I think it's just one of those, even if it's, it could be a compositional thing, it could be we're up 2-0. In our eyes, it's going to be our last map of the year. Let's go have a damn good time on the server.
We will see how that works out for them, because it could bite them and they'll play a fourth map. So let's see how that goes. As we see on the defense, SVSU going to play a SIG composition, which is not surprising. It's common, especially in your comp games, not necessarily what we tend to see at the highest levels, but again, we're in Division 4, so I'm not shocked to be seeing SIG comps. Junkrat Torbjorn is going to be a fun combo. Lots of spam damage you're going to have to deal with if you're the side of Wolfpack. The Wolfpack composition is a little bit more perplexing. Mauga with Hanzo Widow. Not really anyone who can help go up and be with your Mauga, because Mauga's, meant to go on full damage and use your healing to help keep your team up in the brawl, while these hit scans are going to be more taking their distance, but they will be swapping comps immediately.
Yeah, here's the real Wolfpack team comp. They tried the double snipers with the Mauga and the Brig, and now we have switched basically all 5 roles. So that was the, the early feeler that a lot of teams are going to try to throw, but obviously the Sigma's going to play fantastic into the double sniper, so that wouldn't have worked out very well, I don't think, to begin with. And now they can at least begin to push onto the cart. Reggie going to take a lot of damage here from that Ramattra early on, able to back away to safety, get some healing up from the supports, and we're going to see Appa. We did see the Freya banned out in map 1. I don't remember who banned it, but now it gets to stretch its legs here on Rialto. Okay.
Wow, what a great opening pick from Bo Jiden, who's just been absolutely ridiculous this season, from the Sombra now to the Junkrat. However, Jake the dog gets VD. You do get him in response, but losing support early on when the respawns are far back is great for Wolfpack.
Yeah, Smelvin and Pengi, unfortunately, a little low on HP there for a moment, so they couldn't put too much pressure. The Junkrat trap's going to trap Smelvin in his place. Almost gets 100 to 0. Luckily, though, more than enough sustain in the kit and with the teammates to stay alive. And now you've got Appa going rogue on a little solo mission here and able to get a ton of chip damage and work with Jake the dog to see if they can find a few more picks. And there's that Echo Burst damage that we talk about. If she gets enough uptime, it is absolute night. And great job by Wolfpack putting that foot forward.
SVSU gonna have to make sure they back out and not afford any more staggers, because they're gonna get one more chance to contest this. They're gonna have quite a few ultimates, and half the time bank's already off for the side of Wolfpack, so if you can waste even more time, like, it's just golden.
Yeah, the contest comes through, and now we're going to see the Graviton Flux come into play. It looked like it landed onto a few, but the Dragons in the hands from Smelvin doing enough work to keep Wolfpack alive in the fight, but we're going to see 2 dead members in the feed, and now there's a Riptire trying to gun for Smelvin's head, unfortunately not able to find it, and if you've got keen eyes, folks, that says 0.01 meters to the checkpoint.
What is that? Why are we peeking a window, Smelvin? Like, you guys could have re-engaged that. Wait for the window to go down. I am so gobsmacked by that.
It's literally the closest it can be, too. They got right, not even the 1 yard
They're
line.
like, hello, right through the window. Please shoot me.
Yeah, the tip of the football is literally a pixel from the goal line. But ultimately, that means you do not get a time bonus, and you are forced into a horrible reset that you did not want to be a part of.
They're going to have a lot of ultimates to be able to use, though, so they're in quite a good spot to take this recontest.
Yeah, Solar Flare going to be online, and it's going to be called in. The Annihilation from Smelvin's going to be sent in as well, but it's going to be Panky and Jake, the ones getting ripped to shreds first. Now it's going to be on Appa and the rest of the crew to see if they can swing this fight in their favor, and they're able to finally neutralize the Queen. J-Rod and VD were both hanging on by a thread there, and it looks like Smelvin and the rest of the gang, they should have finally done enough to get past that pesky 0.01 meters.
Yeah, Annihilation, Orbital Ray, Duplicate, that's definitely going to do it for you. We do see SVSU, who's been swapping their comp around a lot. Reggie was on the Junker Queen at that end of the second point there. Now they're going over to the Hazard, which, yeah, the Hazard's going to be good, especially trying to get on top of, like, Jake the Dog and possibly some of these supports, but it's going to be tough sledding if you're going to have to avoid Smelvin on this Ramatra at all costs.
Yeah, high risk, high reward. The mobility is certainly going to be good for a lot of areas on Rialto, but unfortunately when Ramatra gets you where he wants you, it can be an absolute horrible fist fight to try to get yourself a part of. And now we're going to see the Dragons going out from Drake. That's a lot of chip damage onto one of these members. That Reggie barely able to escape with their life, but that still means that Wolfpack, you can continue to walk forward, continue to walk all of SVSU back, and you can find a few more kills on the exit. All right,
that was bold.
Rip tire down. Yeah, rip tire down.
Yeah, that was bold. I feel like you knew Hanzo was there. It only takes one arrow. I'm very surprised they were, willing to do that. But they do get Capybaras, so that's great. But going back and forth at this point.
Yeah, no supports online for the fight for Wolfpack, which means no Kitsune. You don't have the Juno there to help you out as well. And I think they should be able to zone off Smelvin at least a little bit here. The Annihilation, of course, online if they so choose. The Molten Core will be invested early out of Mega, and they're going to see if they can at least zone some more players off. I was going to say good progress still being made, but finally enough kills do come through where SVSU can finally breathe a sigh of relief for a moment.
Yeah, the Molten Core basically stowed anyone from being able to aggressively push and go after the players, and then they're able to win in the spam war, which they will do with a Junkrat and Torbjorn. Wolfpack, however, once again, going to be able to re-engage with basically 5 ultimates in their back pocket. Again, one thing they need to get a handle on is the ult economy, so they need to try and win this with, maybe 2, maybe 3 if you have 2 ults, but no more than that.
The Annihilation, certainly a good one to get the job done. The Solar Flare going to get activated as well, but VD's getting absolutely comboed by Appa, and that means Wolfpack, this is their fight through and through, no question about it. Everybody from SVSU just getting annihilated in the aftermath. J-Rod, Reggie, and VD trying to escape as fast as they can, but the damage has been done, and the checkpoint is earned.
And they're able to do that with only 2 ult investment. That is the kind of fights we need to continue to see from Wolfpack. They have 2 minutes left on the clock to finish this second point. They have both their support ultimates and a Dragons to force positioning. The only thing you got to be a little bit worried about is the downpour coming in from Reggie, especially if you get everyone stuck in an area, then you pop a window and you can just kill everyone.
Yeah, the Dragons is a great way to engage, but Reggie, seeing where they came from, just snaps onto Jake the Dog and able to shut him down 100-0, and then you win the 1v1 against Appa. So finally the Hazard showing what the hero can do in these isolated situations. Speaking of, another one for the mantle, and there's the exact kind of play you're hoping Reggie would make eventually.
Still held on to both of these support ultimates, and that's basically what you're playing for in this next fight if you're Wolfpack. Probably looking to engage with his Kitsune Rush and using the Orbital Ray if you have to, but the Rush should be enough to buy you a team fight.
I would think so as well. We're going to see if the Riptire can finally find some value. It's going to take down Pengi, so the Kitsune Rush does get used, but the support does not stay alive to see the results of the fight. And now Smelvin and Cappy both going down the Orbital Ray. They're just going to hold on to that, keep it in the back pocket. And finally, the Riptire finds some value. The Molten Core also invested, so certainly not cheap by any means, but SVSU at this point, if they feel like they can clinch the map with it, I'm sure they're willing to use them.
Jake the Dog now going to go over to that Reaper, which, no more Hanzo, so you don't have that one-shot potential, but the Reaper is definitely going to be a lot more sustained damage over time, but not if you're getting sent back to the spawn room with the mines from the side of Jobin.
Yeah, Bo has been playing excellent so far. Couldn't even get the words out, and another satchel toss onto Cappy's head. And this is the exact kind of play you want to see out of the Junkrat. Unfortunately, can be isolated like that. Smelvin's Annihilation is going to wear off Pengy and Cappy, or Cappy rather, still sitting on the orbital ray. The Solar Flare is going to get brought into the fold. They are all grouped up. This could be massive for VD. Able to take down Pengy. Appa's going to get taken out of the Replicator, and now it is an absolute brawl for the cart. We are officially in overtime territory, and it looks like Wolfpack, they may at least get a little more progress with those kills.
Yeah, they're down at least copy bars for the time being, and they're going to have to deal with a downpour and a window. Does it get anything? Oh, it does.
Oh, Reggie's in a bit of a rough spot here, trying to take on the entire world by themselves, and things not going according to plan, and that's just going to mean that Wolfpack, you can continue to march as long as you want, but Pengy again getting cut down, and now the Riptire, a hard right turn into Appa's face, and that means SVSU can finally get the kills they were looking for, and despite a fantastic effort, Wolfpack just getting stopped short of completion.
And now SVSU have their win condition that they need to meet to get this third place victory. They got to get through third point and basically get it on that, get it into basically the final room. That's essentially where the cart stopped for the side of the Wolfpack. They do that, they leave this match in third place. If not, we will be going to a map number 4. And I will say, considering all the role swapping they did, impressive to still be playing the Wolfpack this hard. It didn't allow them to cap all 3 points.
Yeah, it's good considering it, especially at the end, because it looked like at the beginning they looked very good. Then it looked like they were going to get run out of the gym in the next 2 minutes, and then they just shut everything down. Even with some great combos and some great ultis out of Wolfpack, they were just able to find a few key picks here and there, keep that orbital ray from getting sent in a few fights earlier, stalls out the time. And great effort out of both teams. SVSU, you gave yourself a chance. The ball is in your court. Destiny awaits to see if they can finish this one off. And there's a Roadhog on my screen, and I am quite pleased about it.
We'll see if they actually bring that out. For the side of Jobin, though, going back to the Sombra well, it did wonders for them previously on Surabasa. And Reggie is going to go out with that Wrecking Ball.
And hey, forget starting with the sniper. Start with my Zenyatta and see if you can get that nice little full charge one-shot. I don't hate that at all. And obviously the Transcendence is just phenomenal for keeping everybody alive and stalling the game out a little bit later on. So like to see the switch-ups, like to see at least the teams willing to try something different, especially with the role swaps. A little bit of DPS coming through from J-Rod there as the rest of SVSU slowly working their way up the cart, and now the ball just going to go cruising through the streets.
Yeah, the Zen Ana for the side of SVSU, it's an extremely greedy backline, and it's very diveable or, very squishy. But, if they get good anti-nades, good Discord orbs, it's very offensively potent.
We do see Reggie we did see them honestly willing to take on 2 to 3 players to a fault a little bit earlier in the last round. So even with that, what feels like billion HP and armor pool the ball does give you, still got to be careful with all that DPS coming through from Wolfpack as SVSU getting stalled out a little bit, trying to play for some high ground here. Torp turrets are taking it between the shins, and now we're going to see a nice cleanse followed up by a sleep, and Reggie is going to get a little bit of boosted armor there. The anti's going to connect, and it's going to be Jobin falling first. Reggie is able to actually find one of the backline members and still able to live, and this is the beauty of the ball. You are just so damn tanky.
Oh, they got the sleep out. Can they get the kill on the Ana? They do.
Wow.
Capybaras going to the spawn room, and the problem is with those late staggers, do they even look to touch as their car is rounding the final corner as they know Reggie's sitting here waiting?
Uh-oh, trying to go for a little boop off the map. Almost sends him into the canal, but not quite able to land it onto the Ramatra. But that HP is already dangerously low, and that just means, oh, I thought it was going to be a little bit good for SVSU, but we do see a few kills going through for the side of Wolfpack. Melvin gets nanoed up, and they're going to see if they can at least use that to win the rest of the fight. Pengi and Appa, the only two down so far. And we are going to see the overclock also activated. Jake the Dog just wanting to ensure victory for this last set of fight here. 2 meters away from the checkpoint, and they're able to lock it in.
Again, that was SVSU to me playing with their food a little bit too much, trying to do a little bit too much with that wrecking ball there. They just allowed them to just pursue through, go straight to the point, allowed to touch, and they're able to sustain with that nano. So very well played. But 3 huge ultimates coming in from SVSU. EMP and Trans plus the mines. Those are all going to be tough to deal with when the cart's right here at the end if you're Wolfpack.
The only caveat is that if Wolfpack's able to stall this out a decent amount of time, wow, Bo Giant gets absolutely cracked fresh off of the EMP. It connected onto the entire team, but there wasn't really that much follow-up initially. Looks like the second wave looking much, much better than that initial outburst of offense. And now it's all down to Appa. Some clean movement, not gonna lie, but still taken down by the ball. And not a moment too soon. SVSU 3:20 on the clock, and they will keep on pushing.
Yeah, and with Escort, time's not really that much of a factor, especially considering they didn't cap all 3 points. But even if they had, it doesn't matter as long as you finish with time. So still, 3 minutes to cap the second points. We're going to see full-on swaps because Smelvin went over to the Orisa and they realized, hey, Orisa probably not going to be so great into our wrecking ball. So let's go give us a little bit more sustain. So Reggie's going to go over to that Ramatra to be able to brawl it out with Smelvin.
Yeah, just be able to stand and bang with the Orisa. Obviously, that massive health pool, the Fortify, the Terra Surge, when that eventually does get online. Very tough to deal with in isolation, but we are going to see Appa has been playing outstanding on this Echo. That is, I think, the key target for SVSU to start isolating, and that is an amazing way to get this original fight going in. And now they're going to see if they can ground a few of these players. That Sojourn was dangerously low, and Jake, this Ramatra, this switch is paying off so far, but going in a little bit deep, possibly able to find the kill. It's a big anti-forces out the cleanse. Wolfpack trying their best to fight back, but they're still down to DPS.
Yeah, and that's a lot of damage thrown down.
Oh.
They're probably going to get punished. That they do. Molten Core came out, but it's not enough between the duplicate from Appa to get that Ramatra Annihilation online. It was just the kiss of death, but they got some good distance on the car, did SVSU.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't know exactly who it was used on or when, but VD had to have nanoed at some point in that fight because it was at 11% after they respawned.
How does that happen?
So that's crazy, not gonna lie. That is an insane way to get picked as Orisa.
Still, now the Dragons come out on the point. It's going to buy space and possibly... Just look at this, the Kiriko's completely isolated. Pinky goes down.
It is a disaster.
Those overclock used.
That might be the strangest 30-second sequence I have seen in quite some time. From the tank going down, seemingly out of nowhere. I'm still not even... I know what happened, but I'm still not sure what happened. And then just that fight, Kiriko separated, like you said, everybody getting run down. They're panic ulting, and it just feels like I don't want to say slowly slipping away. That was a series of unfortunate events.
And they're going to have 2.5 minutes to try and finish this off, as we're going to see a Kitsune Rush coming out.
Oh no, Terra Surge shut down too. Killed by the grenade and the Terra Surge. They're losing all their cooldowns to everything.
This is just peak play coming out from SVSU. Basically, you're going to have one more fight of this. Smelvin's now going to go over to the Ramatra almost as a desperation. Jake, the dog, going to go over to the Reaper. All you're going to have is a duplicate, but you're facing down a possible nano annihilation and a molten core.
Yep. Stand on the Molten Core Ramatra and you will be rewarded greatly. And just like that, they're throwing their lives away. Wolfpack, you can tell they're panicking. They're trying to reach for something that simply is not there. Never chase your loss. Bronze medal to their name. and a great performance, even with a little bit of for fun off rolling in the decider.
Some new role swaps, no problem for the side of SVSU, as they're able to dominate this series in 3-0 fashion, get that bronze finish, and just put an exclamation point on the end of the series. Would they wish they could have won the whole thing? Sure, but still a
Mhm.
podium finish. And again, as you talked about, they're probably the ones who gave the eventual winners the closest fight.
That's what it looked like from the bracket. So I don't want to say I'm not super surprised, but definitely not that shocked to see that they walked out. And even from map one, and right, it's hard to tell, especially the first like round of control. You might know the difference in like skill between certain teams, but it's kind of hard to tell on three team fights usually who actually has the advantage. But by round two of Ilios, it felt like SVSU had a pretty good foothold on the series. And then map two obviously looked incredible. And then when we get a message in the chat from J Rod saying, by the way, we're going to make a few switches this game, we're going to have some fun, and it still looked amazing. So give all the credit to SVSU and obviously Wolfpack, top four, nothing to scoff at. Still an incredible run, incredible season. And I'm sure, listen, lots of fun along the way. It's been a great semester of Overwatch 2.
Yeah, before we go, want to thank a lot of these sponsors. We have Extron, Wenzel's Blue Light, Blue Eye. They were all amazing for us this entire semester. This is the last broadcast from NECC for the fall semester. We will be back in the spring. I think it's going to be around February-ish when we start up again. So you don't want to miss that. But from all of us here at NECC, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a great semester. And please, please, please enjoy your holidays, be safe, and just have a great end of the year. We will see you guys next year.